And hello, everyone. This is a wonderful Thanksgiving evening. And today we're going to be going over the entire Microsoft Office suite. This is the 2010 version, and I'm going to be showing you the software running on Windows 7. The software that I'm going to show you is virtually identical to the same software on the Mac for the 2011 version. They don't do the same year. So if it's 2008, for example, for the PC, it's 2007 for the Mac. Okay, so, but this is the one of the latest versions, and one of the things that confused a lot of people is they changed several different features. For example, they went, instead of going with the traditional menu, they went to a ribbon system. Their words, not mine. And so I want to show you how to kind of navigate these changes and just what you help get you going so that if there's a project you'd like to work on, you're comfortable with it, you know what you need to do, and you can get up and moving. At the end of this class, we're going to open it up to the audience, those of you who are here live right now, and you can submit questions either through the question box that should be on your screen at this point, or for those of you who want to participate a little more, there's an icon of a hand, and if you click that, I will take it as you raising your hand, and we can unlock your microphone, and you can simply speak, and the whole class will hear you. So obviously, keep it appropriate. So that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the 3 different applications, but we're going to focus more than anything on Microsoft Word, because Word is by far the most widely used application out there. So let's go over it. One thing I want to talk about, it's not entirely on topic, but let's say you've just installed Microsoft Office. Well, one of the ways you're going to be able to access it is obviously through the Start menu here. And one of the things some people don't know that they can do is you can create a shortcut so that you can more easily access it down here in your toolbar. And the way you do that is you put your cursor, let's say I want to pin, the process is called pinning. You put your cursor over Microsoft Word 2010 and right-click, and you get a series of additional options, one of which is Pin to Taskbar. Now mine says Unpin because I've already done it, but that's just an easy way to create a shortcut for those of you who do use these applications a lot. So let's start by going into Microsoft Word. Okay. Now the first thing I want to go over, because we get this question a lot, is how do I make it bigger? It's very easy. If you look here at the very bottom right of your screen, you will see that there's a little slide bar, and if I actually leave my cursor over it, it says the word zoom. And you can just hit the little plus sign over here to take it up. Personally, I like it. You can see the percentage right over here. I like it at 125 to 130 because it's a font that I can read easily. I have a fairly big monitor here in front of me. So that's that. Now, the biggest change that you'll see is that Microsoft has gone away from a traditional menu and gone to a ribbon system. So there's 2 different bars that I need to make you aware of. The first is this big bar here, okay? And you see all these different icons here. This looks very different than the old version. There's some elements that are similar, but there's a lot of new stuff too. This here is called the ribbon bar. The other is at the very, very top of the screen. You see here I have a bunch of teeny tiny little icons here, and these are called the Quick Access Toolbar. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show all of you how to customize Word or any of these applications. They all work the same way so that you can have it look the way you are most accustomed to. The way you do it is we're going to first here go under File, and I'm going to get there in just a minute, but first I'm going to go over a few other items. Here under the File tab, okay, we have some of the traditional items like Save, if you want to save your document, Save As, especially if you're doing it for the first time, okay, Open and Close. I don't think we need to go over any of those. If you have a bunch of documents that you've been working on, you can click on Recent, and you'll see a little browser here with preview images of all the different documents that you've recently had open. New. This is a very big part of Microsoft Office, is the templates. So you have access to hundreds, if not probably even close to 1,000 different templates out there, because you don't need to be a master at design anymore. When we start to work with Excel, you don't need to remember all of those codes, you know, where sum equals and all these crazy things. Instead, all you need to do is kind of have an idea of what you're doing, in terms of I'm creating a document of this type or that type. And then you can use a template and just input your information and it will make it look nice and pretty. So here in New, we can go through and all of these are basically folders. So you can see here I have a ton of different templates. I have everything from agendas, books, brochures, budgets, all the way up to other things like forms, flyers, inventory, invoices. We were having a little discussion before we started recording this class, and I know that one of the things that was requested is that we go over resumes. Okay, there's a whole bunch of different resumes here. We'll get to those in just a minute. The next item we have here is print. I think you all know what to do with that. Save and send here is if you are working on a document and you want to email it out to someone. Now, to do this, you would need to be using the application Microsoft Outlook. And what it will do is it will send it as an attachment right from here. Okay. You can also see here that if you want to protect your document, one of the easiest ways to do it is to send it as a PDF. For those of you who don't know, PDF stands for Portable Document Format. Basically, where you'll run into those a lot are things like healthcare forms, where they don't really want you to be able to edit them, but they want you to be able to sign them. So that's where PDFs come in handy. Okay. Some of the other things you can do here, this is a big one, options. Okay. Now here under options, you're going to get this whole pop-up menu, and there's a couple. It's good to go through this and just kind of take a look and familiarize yourself with some of the settings. For example, I can make it personalize my copy of Office by putting my name, my initials. Okay. But there's other things that are really important here. For example, in save. Okay. God forbid if you're working on something and the power goes out, your computer crashes, something like that. You don't want to have just spent hours on a document and not be able to access it. So this is where it's really important to use autosave. Okay, so in this case, I have mine set to autosave every 5 minutes. So it just means that if the computer crashes, when I go back and I open up Word, it's going to say, oh, you were working on this document when your computer turned off. Here's the recovered version, and I can pick up where I left off, or at least fairly close to that. Now, the most important ones that I want to go over here are these two, Customize Ribbon and Quick Access Toolbar. And I'm actually going to start with the latter of the two, which is the Quick Access Toolbar. And just a reminder, that is right up here at the top left of my screen. Okay, so you can see here what you can do is have certain icons that represent actions you use a lot and have them easily accessible, like save, undo, email, spell check. I decided to add draw a text box. Now, when you first get this, it looks like this. You have only save, undo, and redo. So the way you add them is very simple. You go through this list here on the left, and so like let's say I want to go through and add back save. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, I have save, my bad. I want to add back spell check. It's right here in the list, and all I have to do is click on it and then click this button to add it. And you can see it's going to move it into this list right here. Okay, and undo I already have, and text box I wanted to add back, so let's add that. And when you hit OK, those changes will be reflected immediately right up here at the very top. The other menu that was there is this one right here called Customize Ribbon. And the ribbon is this at the very, very top of the screen. It goes all the way down. And I think this part's going to throw off some people the way it comes because, for example, you can see here, if I move this down a little bit, you can see here, I mean, this part here, a lot of people are going to use in terms of changing the different fonts, making text bold or making it underlined, italicized, that kind of thing. Paragraph styles, that's going to be commonly used whether you want your text centered. Don't worry, we're going to go over all this stuff. But this big part of the screen here that's styles, I don't think a lot of people are going to use it. So one of the things you can do is you can customize the way it looks. So for example, if you look here, I have all these different tabs here, and these tabs line up with what I have here. So for example, under Home, if I hit the little plus sign, I'll see styles right there? Well, if you want to get rid of it altogether, all you have to do is right-click on it and hit Remove. Okay? And then as soon as I hit OK, hey, check it out. It's starting to resemble the old version of Office, the version that a lot of people were used to. So you can go through and really customize it to look the way you want. I'm going to go over all the different tabs that there are, but you can really make this look however you want. Okay, let me just add that back so that next time I go to teach, I'll add that later actually. So let's start at the beginning. Okay, I'm going to go over what all the different tabs do. And then one of the things I think would be really helpful, now some of you already know this information, is I'm going to go over key commands like copy and paste, print, all those different things that you're going to want to know how to do. If I didn't mention it at the beginning of this class, we always do recommend that you have a pad of paper and a pen handy, just because it's useful to jot down notes. It kind of gets it in your brain that second time when you write it down. But if you want, this class will be available sometime tomorrow. So here under the home menu, we have a whole bunch of different options here. And I'm just going to type a sentence so we have something to work with here. The cat chased the dog. Okay, so this way I can use this to show you what everything does. We're going to start here with font. Now, if you already have typed text and you want to make it bigger or you want to somehow modify it, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to put your cursor either at the beginning or the end, doesn't matter. Click and drag so that it's highlighted. Okay, so the computer sees that I've selected this text. Now what I can do is I can go up here to the very top, and this is currently at 11-point font. Well, a lot of people can't read 11-point font, so let's change it. And we're going to click on this arrow. We can change it to 14, and you can see immediately it changed it to a larger point. You can also change the font itself by simply clicking right next door to it. It's currently on Calibri, and if you want to use something else, maybe we want to go with Arial Black. There you go. It updated just like that. Some of the other things you can do, I'm going to just highlight the word dog for a minute. Okay. And if you look down here at the bottom, underneath where I have the font, I have my options to make it bold. So if I click B, now in this case I'm actually using a font that is bold, which was really smart on my choice. Let's go to Classic Arial. Ooh, there we go. Okay, so if I want to make just the word dog bold, I would highlight it, click on the B here for bold, and now it has been bolded. Other things you can do is I can make it italicized, okay, by clicking right next to it. Underline is next door to that. And what's nice is if you leave your cursor over any of these, it does give you a pop-up description, okay? So it says underline if you just hover over it for just a second. Next over here we have a strike through, okay? Subscript word, I don't think any of you are going to be going over this. What we're going to do is Microsoft Office is a very complex and deep program. We're going to be going over the things that I think a lot of you are going to need to know. So if I skip a section, it's not because I don't know it, it's because I don't think many of you are going to be using it. So let's move on. You can also highlight your text over here and change the entire color of it, okay? So same idea. If I want to highlight Chase the Dog, I would select it. And up here, we have the text highlight color. And if I click that, you can see here Chase the Dog is now in yellow. Some of the other things we can do, get rid of that, is we can now start to go over here to the paragraph styles. Okay, so let's start at the top and go through it. The very first item you'll see here in paragraph styles is bullet points. So if I'm saying, I'm awesome because, okay, and now I want to do bullet points. What I would do is I would hit the Enter key to bump down a line and click on the bullets. And you can see it automatically adds one, and I can put here, I'm nice. And if I want to add another bullet, all I have to do is hit Return again. Return, Enter, same key, by the way. Okay, and you can keep going through it. Now, maybe instead of bullets, you want to do a list, okay? Well, the easy way to do that is right next to where you have the bullet points here, you have a numeric list. If you click that, it'll automatically add the number 1. So you can put item 1. And when you hit the return key, once again, it bumps down and it gives you number 2. Next, we're going to go over how to align the text, how to justify it. Okay. So if you look here, we have these 4 options right here. Okay. The first one on the left is to align the text to the left, which is what it does by standard. If you click one over, it'll center it to the middle of the page. On the right-hand side of that, we have to align it to the right. And finally, we have this final one called justify. And what it's going to do, it's not going to really do it so much with this text, but if I try to what it's going to do is it's going to try to space it out so it takes up the whole line. A lot of college students will do this to make their papers appear bigger, but they're not. Those are the most important parts in the home screen. Here under Insert, okay, so we're now moving on to the next tab here. We can do anything from inserting a picture or clip art, okay? So if I want to take a photo and put it right in the middle of this, I can click on Picture. And by default, what that's going to do is it's going to look into my Pictures folder, okay? And I can just go through here and pick whatever image I want, click on it, and hit Insert. There's my photo, okay? In case you didn't know, if I want to make this photo a little smaller, all I have to do is put my cursor right here at any corner. And you see how when it's on the corner, it turns into those 2 little arrows pointing in opposite directions? All I have to do is click and just drag it up. And you can see that the image is now significantly smaller. Okay? You can also do some pretty interesting things to photos, like you can add a frame to it. So if I want to make this look like an actual picture frame, if you look here, as soon as I started working with a photo, it gave me all these different menu options here. So I can go through and I can try different frames. Okay? It just kind of gives it an interesting effect. Sorry about that. We were in Insert. Okay, other things you can do. Sometimes you're working on a document and you're looking for a signature, okay? And some people want to put a little arrow pointing sign here. The way you do that, very simply, is you can go here under Shapes, and there's a whole bunch of different shapes here. And block arrows is right here. And your cursor is going to turn into a crosshair. And what you do is you just simply click and drag. And you can see here that I now have a arrow. But wait a minute, I want that arrow pointing the other way. You see that little green dot right there? When I put my cursor over it, it turns into this little symbol that means rotate. So now what I do is I just spin my cursor, and voila, it is now pointing the other direction. Now, like I said, if any of you have questions throughout any of this, just make a note of what it is, and at the end, we'll come back and we can get everything answered for you. Plenty of time this evening. Go back to Insert. Other things I think that some of you might be using are text box. Okay, so a text box is used when you just want to have a box of text floating somewhere. Okay, it means it's going to break kind of the traditional rules of where the text would go, but you can draw it right on the page. So to do that, you're just going to click on text box. And there's all sorts of different types of text boxes now, where there used to be just a standard one. But they have some here that are now they're funky. They have like pinstripes on them. But usually I just use the very simple, appropriately named simple text box. So at this point, what I would do is I just start typing in my text. My text goes here. And now if I want to move that box around, I can. I can just drag it wherever I want. Those are the most important parts I think that most of you are going to be using here in the Insert page. Under Page Layout, one thing I want to go over, which you can adjust a few different ways, is getting your rulers. Okay, so a lot of people when they first start using Word, they notice that there are no rulers. Okay, so you don't know how far indented is this word. The way you do it, they don't unfortunately tell you this quite easily. If you look here on the right hand side of my screen where I have my little scroll bar, just above it there's this little icon, and if I click on it, my rulers right up here and along the side appear. That's where you go for that. Page layout is where you can go to change things, like you can change the page orientation. So if you want to go from portrait mode to landscape mode, you can. So now it's wide instead of tall. You can tweak the margins here. It's just going to ask you, it's going to have a bunch of different ones that are commonly used. So for example, if I want to use 1-inch top and bottom margins and 2-inch left and right margins, I can do that. But if you just want to make your own, that's why you click here on custom. And you can just manually type in whatever you need. Let's see here. The other thing I think we can go over that some of you will be using. Sometimes you're working on a document and you want to protect it. Okay, and one of the ways you can do that is to watermark it. It's also good just as far as if you have multiple versions of a document, if you want to make one distinguishably a draft and one the final copy, this is one way you can do it. So here under page layout, we have watermark. Now they have a bunch of different ones already made for you, like draft, sample, do not copy, confidential, but you can also create your own. Once again, it's right here at the very bottom of the list where it says custom watermark. And you can do this with one of two things. You can either use a photo or you can use text. If you do a photo, it's the second option right here where it says picture watermark. And if it's a text one, you can type in your own text right here. This is my document. And now you'll see across the page it says this is my document. Okay. Next is references. Okay. And there aren't many options here that I think many of you will be using, except possibly table of contents. If you're working on a book, you can create a table of contents and format it so that it recognizes different styles as chapters. I don't think many of you will, but that's the only thing I can foresee. If you need to insert anything like a footnote, okay, you can do that right here. Insert footnote. Sorry, I was over one. So that'll just put a little reference here at the very bottom of the page, and you credit wherever that quote or wherever that image or whatever you're working with came from. Next, we have mailings. Okay. Again, I don't think a lot of you are going to be using this, but I'll go over it real quickly. Sometimes you want to create things like an envelope or labels. Okay, this is one of the ways you can do it. So all you do is you click here on labels. Now, if you're going to do this method, you do need to have an address book already with, in this case, you'd be using Microsoft Outlook. And what it will do is it'll allow you to create printed labels using Avery. Avery is a company that makes things like business cards that you can print out at home. And you can just go through your contacts, select which ones you want, and it will print them all onto mailing labels. Review. Okay, now there aren't many here that I think you'll enjoy, but the main one here is spelling and grammar. And you may have noticed that I put spelling and grammar up here on the quick access toolbar. Okay, just so that, because sometimes you want to do that. You just want to have an easy way to run spell check on the whole document. If you are collaborating with other people, you can use comments right here to make a tag, some sort of a note of a change that you've made. And finally, we have view. So here under view, you can change how you look at the document. For example, you can go into draft view if you like that. Most people like print layout. That's what we've been using this whole time. You can also go to full screen or outline mode. The zoom controls, I already showed you a hint. You can do it right here at the very bottom right of your screen. Okay. Those are the most important ones. Now what I want to do is I want to take a minute and go over all of those complex commands that you're going to want to know. Now for those of you who are watching this who use a Mac, every time I say control, it is the exact same thing except it's with a command on a Mac. So what this is these are called hotkeys. So sometimes I'm either just too lazy or I just want to get through it. and I can create something, I can make something happen just by hitting a combination of keys on my keyboard. For example, if I wanted to make the word dog bold, instead of clicking on home and clicking on B for bold, one of the ways I can do it is I can hit Control and the letter B. So you'd hold Control and just tap briefly the letter B, and now you can see dog is bold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through basically the whole keyboard from bottom row to top row and just point out the important ones. So for those of you who are taking notes, this is going to be an important one. So again, Mac users, you're going to be using Command and a letter. For those of you using Windows, you're going to be using Control. Okay? So let's start at the very end of the keyboard, which is Z. And let's say I make a horrible mistake. I have my 50-page document and I accidentally delete it. Well, that's where undo comes into play, possibly the most important command. Undo is Control Z. See, and it comes right back. Not many people use cut, but cut is Control X. Okay, oops, sorry about that. So what that means is I'm theoretically going to cut and paste something. Okay, which brings us to copy. Copy, if I have, let's go back. Oop. Okay, so if I want to copy this line here, I would highlight it and hit Control and the letter C to copy. Now maybe I want to paste that over and over again. Well, just bump over one key. That's V. Paste is Control V. And see, I hit it. I can repeat this over and over and over and over. B is for bold. So if I want to take one of these lines and I want to highlight it and make it bold, Control B will do that. If you're working on a really long document and for whatever reason maybe you want to change the font on everything, the universal command for select all, so I want to get everything highlighted, is Control A as in Apple. So now I could go here under Arial and change it to whatever that is. Save, of course, is Control S. Okay, so it's going to ask me where do I want to save my document and what do I want to save it as. Let's see what other ones are going to be important to you guys. Control Q is quit. Mac users, Command Q. So if I want to get totally out of Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word rather, I can do Control Q. Control I is italicize. Okay, so once again, if I want to make that one line italicized, that's how I do it. Control O is open if I want to open a new document, or open a pre-existing document. And finally, Control P is print. So that's just a bunch of the different commands that you may or may not have known that I just wanted to go over real quickly. So now that we've gone over that, let's start to have a little bit of fun. And let me start to show you the best part of Word, which is the templates, because this is where you can really have create magic. So just a reminder, to get back to the templates, we're going to go to File, and we're going to go here under New. Okay? Now basically all of these documents for the most part live on office.com. So it's just pulling them off the internet, but it's great because Microsoft can create new templates without them having to be uploaded to your computer, or downloaded specifically to your computer, and you just have instant access to them. So you can go through here and really start to play. Now I was chatting with some of the people in the class before we started recording today, and one of the things that was requested was that if we could go over resumes, and I'm going to do that right now. So if you look here at the bottom here, we have resumes and CVs. I don't know what CV stands for. Okay, we have 3 different folders for different types of resume templates. We have basic resumes, job specific, and situation specific. Okay, you can go through each of them on your own and see if one really kind of pops at you. Let's go under basic. Okay, now you can see here by this scroll bar we have several different templates here. Okay, if I actually just go back here for a minute, let's go into situation specific. Okay, there aren't many for that. Job specific. We have a good amount. So for example, they have social worker, secretary, teacher, customer support, that kind of thing. So when you find one that you want, all you have to do is double click on it. And it's a really, really small file. It'll connect to the internet and download it. And now all I have to do is go through this whole template and replace their information with my information. So where it says your name, guess what I'm going to type? See? And you just go through here and you can change up everything. Now let's say instead of having objective, you want to put my goal for whatever reason. You can edit any part of this, even if it's not, even if you're not supposed to. So I can go in here and retype it. Okay? And then you just fill in your information, and before you know it, you have a really classy looking resume. Someone else in the other class I just taught wanted to be able to, what did she want to print? She wanted to print up certificates, okay, like a certificate of accomplishment. So for that, we just went here into certificates, okay. There's a whole bunch of different ones here. Let's just go under business awards, okay. Here's the funny thing. There are some templates that you'll find here in Word, and then there are totally different ones that you'll find in Microsoft PowerPoint. So you can go through here and really explore on your own. Okay, so maybe you want to do like world's best father, okay? Double click on it, and they make it cute, you know, and you don't have to use this word. You can change it up however you want. Okay. What's great for those of you who do have kids is if you let them just really play with this stuff. I've been doing a lot of interviews ever since we were on Shark Tank. And one of the things I said was that kids leaving high school or even college, if they can graduate and already have mastered Microsoft Office, Apple iWork, website building, and Final Cut Pro, and even better, QuickBooks, you will have a job tomorrow, because those are the jobs that are not being filled. These skills are required these days, this day and age, and it's not hard to do them. You just have to kind of have someone show you a little bit of the way, and then it makes sense. Okay, so a lot of what I'm showing you here, you're going to see repeated when we start to go over Excel and PowerPoint. Let's go over some of the other templates here, just to again give you a little bit of a good idea of what you can expect here. So under, let's say today happens to be the day before Thanksgiving. Say you want to create a quick little card. You can go here under cards. Okay. Go under holiday. You can scroll through here. And here's a cute little Thanksgiving Day greeting card. Okay. So for kids to play with this stuff and learn it, even though they're playing, they're learning through play. It's a really good program for them to get to know. All right. So now let's do this. Let's move on to Excel, and the entire menu bar, the ribbon, and the quick access toolbar are virtually the same. Okay. There's some slightly different things, but I mean you can see here we have the fonts, we have the alignment. Okay. Yeah, we have a few slightly different ones here, like we have different, you know, if you want to look red in the background. Okay. Here under Insert, it is virtually almost identical, except we have a few more things like columns. It's creating different charts, rather. So if you want to create a pie chart or bar chart, okay. But where Excel is really nice, so back in the day, let's rewind a bit. Back in the day, you had to use all of these codes to get Excel to play well. So for example, if I wanted to add up a column of numbers, I would have to put equals sum and then put, you know, the cell through this cell. That day is so gone, because now you don't need it at all. Because first of all, one of the tabs you have here is formulas. So if you look here, if I'm putting together different numbers, okay, let's just put some dummy numbers in here. Okay, I can total all of these by simply going into recently used sum. Okay, and it's going to ask me what cells from what cells. So you can see here we have the top row is alphanumeric. We have A through Z. Okay, and then it starts to go on AA, AB. And top to bottom we have here just simply is numeric. So I can say here total the numbers from A1 through A5. And there you go, 2006. Okay, so all those codes that you used to have to memorize, you don't have to do it anymore. But even better than that, most people who go to use Excel, they can get through all of this stuff by simply using a template. So Excel has templates for everything from agendas to budgets, forms, inventories, invoices. Okay, great tools for business. Plans and proposals, planners, schedules, timesheets, all the kind of things that you're going to need, especially in business more than anything. So let's say, for example, let's say I want to create an invoice. Okay, I have different folders here. Let's just do bids and quotes, and check it out. Just in bids and quotes, I have all these different designs I can go through. And you can see here where it says your logo here, I can just click and replace that with one of my photos. I would just drag it and drop it right on top of it. Okay? And all the information here is already set out for you. So you can type in the quantity, type in the description, and it's really easy, okay? For putting together something to look really professional, this is the way to do it. Yep, view is virtually the same. Some of the other templates they have here, okay, budgets can be really helpful. Someone in the last class was asking about this. They said they needed a expense budget, and that happens to be the first item here. Like, you look at this, it's so simple. You know, you've got all your different operating costs. Now, if you don't have one of these costs, you can always just either not answer it or you can delete it and replace it with something else. And you just punch in your numbers and it will automatically calculate it. So if I put in 50, 20, 30, okay, so it shows my difference was negative 40%, difference of $20. And it's really simple. You don't need to do all those codes. It's just done for you. Let's go over PowerPoint at this point, and let's go over PowerPoint at this point. That made sense. And then what we'll do is we will open it up to all of you and start to get your questions answered. PowerPoint, very similar to Word, and actually a lot of the templates are even similar too. This is for creating things like a presentation. Okay, so if you're going to go in front of a large group of people, one thing I do recommend you do is if you're considering using a PowerPoint, there's a little video, I think it's accessible on YouTube, and it's called The Death of I believe it's called PowerPoint, The Death of Communication. And I happen to agree with that because I had one professor in college who would just do PowerPoints for every single subject matter. And it got so boring that we just all fell asleep in the class instantly. So for PowerPoint, you have once again tons of different really good templates. So let's say I'm going to be doing a project of some sort. Not so many in this folder. Let's go do a different one. Let's go into recent, no. PowerPoint presentation, sorry, that's what I meant to do. Okay, we can go into business presentations, and here we go, here's all of them. So you can go through and find whichever one you want. When you find it, double click. And anywhere here that you see text, you just click on it and you replace it with your own. So I can just start typing, and there you go. It's right there. The next part that you're going to want to know how to do with PowerPoint that does make it a little bit different are things like transitions, which there is a tab for right here. So if I want to transition from the first slide to the second slide and I want it to fade, the way I would do it is I would actually click on the second slide first. And what I want to do is I just need to simply click, where'd it go? Fade. That's it. And you can see it actually gives me a really brief demo there showing me how it works. If you want to replay it, if you look all the way to the left-hand side here, there's a preview button, and it just shows you how it's going to be made. Other things you can do is you can have you can go into animation. So this is where you cause text to kind of pop out at different moments. Okay, so for example, if I want this text to come out all at one time, I can select it and I can say fly in. Oops, sorry, that did the whole thing. I just wanted to do that. It might be because this is it's because it's all locked together. That's why. So you can do it however you want and play with these different animations. When you're done and you're ready to actually do it, all you have to do is click here on slideshow, and you can either choose from beginning, you can custom create the slideshow. If you want to rehearse it, they'll have a timer that you can use to kind of talk yourself through your own presentation. Finally, we have here review, same exact deal as we did with Word. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do now is that's a little bit of Microsoft PowerPoint. The biggest thing is that all these applications all do the same thing. If you find that you're used to doing something in the version of 2008 or 2007, depending on what computer you use, you know what? Stay with it. You don't need to go to the new version because they're all basically the same. The only part that you're going to get really a lot of benefit from more than anything in the later version is some of the more interactive templates, which frankly, pretty much they all work on the old software, and some of the features that most people don't use. So those of you who are watching this video pre-recorded, it's going to start to come to an end unless we get some really, really good questions here, in which case we'll keep it going. And those of you who are here, you want to take a second, you can start typing in your questions, and we'll start to get them answered.